Alright. Oh shit. Stay. Hey! How's it going? It's your girl. And I'm back. Never really went anywhere, but I'm back with you, present after a couple weeks of madness, and it's really nice to be catching up with you in this way, because you're my favourite people on the internet. Although don't say that to everyone else on the internet, but it's clearly true, and I hope you're doing really well. Please leave me a comment to let me know how your May has been. If you've been living under a rock, with occasional internet connection and are catching up with me now for the first time all month, I'll just recap, sorry for everyone else. I released a single, it's called I Go Crazy. It's my first official release in 3 years, and in many ways is the thing that I've been working towards for so long, since I started the Secret Demo Club, really. And it's less about this song specifically and more about this stage that I'm about to embark on, this kind of phase of putting things out there in a less apologetic and careful way. I've spoken about this quite a few times on here, but the last couple of years, whilst I've been figuring out my sound and assembling a little team around me, I have just held my cards very close to my chest. So I've done no headline shows. I have just done Instagram snippets of songs and YouTube videos, but not like officially released them. I've not gone on tour. And so to get to do all those things again is very cool, and it's very validating. It's just really cool. I mean, I don't know, I didn't think it was going to feel this different from uploading like YouTube videos and stuff, but it's just so much more committal, you know? It's like releasing a song in this way, you work on it and then you literally put it out in the world for it to do whatever it will do, but it's just not yours anymore. And that kind of passing over process has just felt like immensely satisfying. I really didn't think it would, but it's very exciting and I'm very happy with how it's gone so far. Thank you if you've shared the song, or if you listened, first of all, thank you. Please keep doing that again and again and again. Shared it with anyone that you know that might like it. Yeah, that's it really. I mean, there's an official music video to come, and also an acoustic version of the track, which is this really pretty version that we did with a little drum machine and a piano. And that's also going to come out on Spotify and all of those places. So that is really cool. And so yeah, if you've posted to death about it, thank you. And if you're waiting for some new things to post, then they're all coming in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, it's averaging like 7,000 or 8,000 hits a day on Spotify alone, with no signs of stopping. So thank you for everything you've done. You are collectively the best PR team that anyone could have. So thank you so much. I'm not here today to talk about that song, because I've done that enough over the last couple of weeks. I'm here to talk to you about a song called Why Am I Like This, which was your April demo. And in the midst of releasing the single, I never really put much of a spotlight on it, and I'm actually really proud of it. So I'm going to do 2 videos about this song. This one is going to be about the lyrics and the meaning, which is what I usually do in like a text post. And the next one is going to be about the production, because I just like to go in on the project and show you what's going on. So let's dive in. I'm going to put a little warning of sorts. I'm going to end up talking about mental health. It's just very close to the meaning of this song, so if that's something that might upset you, just bear it in mind. And also, if you haven't heard the song I'm talking about, I would definitely recommend pausing here, going back and listening. I posted at the end of April, so just scroll up on Patreon, and maybe if you have already listened, you can have a little refresh listen. Alright, let's go. Why Am I Like This is a song with a title that sort of packs a lot in the title, and these are my favourite kinds of titles at the moment, as I'm sure you can tell. So I had a demo a couple months ago called I Care Too Much, which was about caring too much. I'm kind of preferring them to like abstract artsy titles. Shadows, magnets. I think with titles like these, there's just a lot more meat on the bones, and you know what kind of song you're getting yourself in for. Or it does the opposite, or it misleads you and twists it in another way, which is also cool. But with this one, I think it was just meant to sum the whole thing up, and rather than sum it all up in the tagline, to just make that tagline the title as well feels like it would grab me a bit more if I was to scroll down a list of song names. So it's called Why Am I Like This, and I didn't mean that in the sense of like, why am I like this? I meant it in a kind of deadpan, eye-rolly, why am I like this? Why do I do the things I do? Why do I say the things I say? That was kind of what it meant. That sort of level of sincerity and sarcasticness. And so I had that lyric in my phone for a couple weeks, and I don't know when I put it in there, but I wrote this song in the middle of April, so just about a week before I recorded it for you. When I was playing I Go Crazy, it's in a tuning called Drop D, so that means it's a standard tuning, E, B, G, D, A, and this would usually be an E, but it's a D. So it means you can play a D chord and you can have a nice beefy bass note. For anyone that plays guitar, if you're wanting to experiment with different tunings, but you're like a little bit intimidated by entirely new tunings with completely different chord shapes, then Drop D is like a great gateway tuning to that. And also means that you don't have to do too much tuning on stage when you have a couple Drop D songs. So I play Lonely People in Drop D, I play Roots in Drop D, I play I Go Crazy in Drop D. It's all there. So these chords that the riff revolves around are all like 2 fingers. And yeah, I just make sure I'm plucking the bass note like in a constant enough way that it forms a rhythm. So that's a D, then I go to a G, then an E minor, so that was the riff that the whole song started around. I was looping that after practicing I Go Crazy, and then I remembered that I had this lyric in my phone, and I don't know why my head connected the two, but it felt like the right kind of mood for this lyric, and so I wrote that loopy bit first, the bit that goes, why am I like this? 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 Why am I? So that loopy thing, imagined it immediately with like harmonies and very swirly, very chanty, but like a sad chant. Like something that feels like the kind of thing that you would chant in a crowd and you'd all be sad, but the togetherness of it all would be sort of a comfort. And then I just started telling stories, little fragments of stories. I think in really broad terms, this song is about reflection and it's about regret. And there's a couple stories where I just like touch on them, and you can tell that I'm describing situations that I wish I acted differently in. So it says, last night I smoked a cigarette. My dad would have been so upset. Most people in their lifetime will take a puff of a cigarette. Not meaning that everyone should start smoking, but our curiosity tends to get the better of us. And I think that's a really innocent human thing. But in classic me fashion, I've taken it a step further and gone, my dad would have been so upset. And he would be. He hates smoking. So there you go. It's just me going from 0 to 100 instantly. Then we got tattoos by the coast, and I just stood there like a ghost. We did get tattoos by the coast. I got a tattoo in Brighton when I was on the Dodie tour, and I don't regret the tattoo actually, but it was interesting to me how I was the least laid back person in that tattoo shop. I'm not very spontaneous, I'm not very impulsive, and so doing something that was both of those things was so like hideously unnatural for me. And it just made me laugh because that was just so obvious in that situation. Everyone's like, oh my god, we're getting tattoos, and I'm just like, oh god. And then it says, maybe I'm an old soul trapped in a young body. Maybe you don't really want me there at your birthday party. I'll be there in the corner, thinking right over every single word of the conversation we just had. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to avoid using the word overthinking because I have a song called Overthinking, but sometimes there's no better word. And it's something I do all the time, and it's exhausting. Second verse is another story. I saw a girl crying on the train, gin and tonic from a can to ease the pain. I never asked if she was okay, and she just got up and walked away. pretty normal everyday occurrence. Shouldn't have thought anything more of it maybe, but no, my brain decides to zoom in on it weeks later. I vividly remembered this, and the urge to go back and amend the situation as if I would have been that helpful. I remembered this weeks later, and it like kept me up half the night being like, I should have done this, I should have done this, I should have gone back, I should have got off the train, I should have sat beside her. It's just like and then it goes into the loopy, first it does this weird I guess it's like a pre, it's just a part of the song that only happens once, and it says, it feels like looking down from the ceiling above, never in the moment, never giving enough. Let's go out and shout the words we never said. I got my mistakes on loop inside my head. Again, pretty straightforward what's going on here. I'm reflecting on the reflecting. Is what's happening here. I'm recognizing that I'm doing it. I'm recognizing that it's not good for me, but I'm also not stopping myself. And this song's been really interesting for me and weirdly significant, and that's why I wanted to do a video about it and talk about it properly. I have suffered with anxiety for a few years now, in some shape or form. I think it wasn't until maybe 2 years ago that I was like comfortable putting the word anxiety on it. Before, it just would have been like feeling a bit off. But yeah, I have a pretty constant, pretty manageable sort of foggy layer of this that is almost always there. And what I mean by that is it's not unmanageable. Like, I'm lucky to not have anxiety that prevents me from leaving the bed. You know, like there's such a spectrum to this whole thing. But yeah, there are a lot of weird parallels in my life. I am very comfortable on stage in front of hundreds, if not thousands, of strangers. But sometimes I need to make a phone call and it takes me like an hour to psych myself up. And anytime that I'm stressed or worried about anything, or I'm doing all this overthinking lark, it can just feel really elevated. And I'm just very... For me, the way it shows itself is I'm just like constantly in my own head. And it's great that it's manageable, and it's great that like I've never had to like cancel a writing session or cancel a show because it sort of gets me that bad, but it definitely prevents me from being my best, most present self, and that's kind of the kicker. And I've actually never really spoken about things like anxiety online, and there are a few reasons for this. The first is that I was in denial for a long time. I kind of thought, if I don't tell anyone that I feel anxious, I just don't, and turns out that doesn't work. And then the other thing was that I was scared that I would become an accidental spokesperson for it, and this is an even more irrational worry. I was scared that it would perhaps be perceived that I was just trying to be getting on a trend by saying that I suffered from some kind of mental illness. And I know that that's really silly to say, because online communities are so amazing and understanding about these things, and people generally appreciate when you do open up. But I never really have. I guess maybe because it wasn't as bad for me as it was for the people. It's like I didn't feel like worthy of a big post, worthy of a big video. But I think a lot of people suffer from it in the way that I do, in this kind of quite constant way. And actually I don't notice that I feel anxious until I don't feel anxious. So if I have a day where I feel really clear-headed, really good, really positive, really present, those are the days where I'm like, this is great. Like, why am I very rarely like this? Really weird. So at the back of my head for a couple of months, probably since the beginning of this year, I've been thinking, maybe I don't have to just accept this anxiety as part of my personality, because the two feel so intrinsically linked. As long as I've been an adult, I've had some form of this to deal with. And I think it's been in the back of my head that maybe that doesn't always have to be the case, and maybe it's something I can work on properly. And so that's been in the back of my head. But the last couple of weeks, And it's such a crazy thing to think about, because it's also career-wise been such an amazing few weeks, like really, like I said, very validating and very positive. But my self-esteem the last month or two has been like on the floor. My confidence has been so low, so crazy low, and I just cry sometimes and I don't know why. So it's almost like all of the things about my brain that I've been ignoring are starting to push themselves to the surface a little bit more. And something that's quite constant but quite new in the grand scheme of things is I am so mean to myself, and I think that's the cause of a lot of this like low self-esteem and shit confidence. I'm so unkind to myself, and writing this song and reading it back and reading between the lines of, oh my god, you should have said this, you're so stupid, you know, I don't say that in the song, but I read back and think there's like a self-loathing between the lyrics. And I wrote the verses, like the bulk of this song, so quickly that it was like very sort of stream of consciousness. So reading it back was really therapeutic, and as crazy as it sounds, I think writing this song and listening to it after was the one thing that was like, has made me realise that I really, really want to go to therapy, and I really want to work on this side of my brain and not accept it as part of me, and try and get out of these really negative ways of thinking. So yeah, how crazy is that? Pretty crazy. I've never been to therapy, I've never had counselling or CBT or done any group work, but I'm really, really open-minded now about the fact that could really help me. So that was cool. And I have this manager called Claire, who I've spoken about a bit. She's the best. She's helped me so much for this release. She's amazing. And I talked to her today briefly about this and said, I'm thinking of signing up for therapy. And she was just so good about it, and she was like telling me all these options that I have, and she was like, if you want to go NHS, like do this, if you want to go private, do this, you can go through a charity and get it like at reduced rates, she was just tell me all my options, and it was really amazing and also just really refreshing. Even just I haven't even been to therapy yet, but even just talking about taking steps to getting there already was giving me some comfort. So I think it's going to be really good. Probably a long road and probably a lot to work on. But I feel good about it, and weirdly this song helped me get there. So yeah, I guess everyone talks about music being quite therapeutic, but this one in particular, trying to read it back as a third party and going, God girl, give yourself a break, was really interesting and really helpful. So yeah, I mean, I'll let you know how I get on. I'd like to keep you guys updated. It might be a bit self-indulgent and you might not be that interested, and that's fine. But I'm just keen to see what happens, and I'm keen to reflect on it every couple of weeks. So I'll let you know if I start therapy. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Yeah, cool. All right. If any of you guys suffer with some kind of mental illness that you feel comfortable with talking about, I would love to get your advice. Whether or not you've tried going to see a professional, or whether that's not for you, good experiences, maybe some not so good experiences. I really don't know what I'm in for, so I'd just love to hear anything you guys have to say or add. That'd be really cool. And I'm certainly getting my head around the fact that these things are really important to talk about. Maybe not with the entire world, but in general, not something to be ignored. It's time that I stop doing that. Okay, cool. It's really late and my eyes are like this, so I'm gonna go and sleep. I'm gonna rehearse tomorrow and Wednesday for my headline shows, which are Thursday and Friday. What? So excited. I'm gonna see some of you there. It's gonna be amazing. And that's all I have to say. Look at my eyes right now. I look so stoned. Bye. Oh, I can't turn it off now. Bye.